Welcome back to Movies TV Man. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Man. And welcome to Saturday's edition of the dceu Daily. And today's headlines: Aquaman child introduced to Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. That's a leak from the test screenings. Legends of Tomorrow cancelled at the CW. Batwoman also cancelled at the CW. Joker deleted scene in the Batman. Matt Reeves says it was not needed. DC and Marvel, Neil Adams dies and leaves huge legacy. Yes, Neil Adams was a prolific artist for Marvel and DC. We'll get into it later. Lots of respect for that man and lots of messages of regret and, you know, best wishes to his family from so many people in the comic book industry. Quite right too. In other news, Jon Watts has quit directing Fantastic Four. We will get into all of these headlines on today's dceu Daily. So, Aquaman 2 rumored to introduce Arthur Curry and Mira's child. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is rumored to introduce Arthur Curry and Mira's son, Arthur Curry Jr., aka Aquababy, hinting at film's darker plot. So this is by Richard Fink of Screen Rant. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom may introduce a vital element to the character's supporting circle, as the film is rumored to feature the child of Aquaman and Mira. The first Aquaman was a surprise hit for Warner Brothers as it grossed $1 billion worldwide and became the highest grossing DC film of all time. The sequel is set for release on March the 17th, 2023. Aquaman has a large supporting cast in the comics. While some like Mira and Volko were featured in the 2018 film, characters like Aqualad and Tula were not. One important character is Arthur Curry Jr., aka Aquababy, who is the son of Aquaman and Mira in the comics. Before Batman and Superman received sons in the comics, Aquaman was the one of the first DC superheroes to have a child, as Aquababy was introduced in Aquaman 23. In 1965, in 2020, as part of the Future State Initiative, DC recently introduced Aquaman and Mira's daughter, Princess Adrena. Andy Curry, who goes by the name Aquawoman. So, is this a son or a daughter? I'm not sure. According to the director, it appears a child may be coming to the throne of Atlantis. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom may feature the son of Aquaman and Mira. No other details have been confirmed, but the site says the child will be a major part of the film. The wording of the son does mean the character will be Arthur Curry Jr. and not Adrena Curry, which makes a certain amount of sense as the film was written before the character debuted. This news should be taken with a grain of salt. However, since Warner Brothers has not confirmed the report. In the comics, Aquababy meets a tragic ending when the young boy is killed by Black Manta. So could this be a thing in the movie? While it is highly unlikely that the DCEU will adapt the storyline, we don't know for sure, directly, as killing a child would easily be the darkest thing in the DCEU. Really? Have you seen Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman? The film will likely draw elements from the storyline, given that Black Manta is the primary villain of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and that the film will see Arthur Curry team up with his brother Orm. It is likely the storyline will involve going to save Arthur's son and Orm's nephew. Black Manta blames Aquaman for the death of his father, so threatening the King of Atlantis' child is a way to get back at the hero. If I'm guessing, I think they are going to adapt this storyline from the comics. It makes sense. It's got all the players involved. The addition to Aquaman also raises some questions about Mira's involvement in the story, namely actress Amber Heard. Heard has generated headlines over the past few years regarding her very public lawsuit with ex-husband Johnny Depp. Warner Brothers reportedly almost didn't bring Heard back for the sequel, but did due to chemistry with star Jason Momoa. She has no chemistry with star Jason Momoa. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. They're cowards. They should have got rid of her. Then we could have had extensive footage of Mira, an iconic DC character. But no. Lack of news on her character, who was such a major part of the first film, does not bode well, especially if her character is set to have a child. This could indicate that she's absent for the main action of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, because she will be serving a B plot, or in place of killing Aquababy, it is Mera who will die in the sequel, leaving Arthur to save his son and raise him as a solo father. Let me be clear about this. What we got here. Hashling me. Ackles wants to play Batman in Gotham Knights. Jensen Ackles will play Batman in Gotham Knights flashbacks. I can tell you that right here, right now. Abraham Herrera, Jason Momoa carried that chemistry. Yes, Abraham, you are correct. So, let's look at this. That's the end of the article. So imagine if they kill off an iconic character because of the controversy around an actress, when all they had to do was actually recast her. Amelia would have loved to have done it. Amelia would have loved to have done it from Game of Thrones, and they didn't do it. And now we're hearing rumours and we're getting theories that she may be killed off. You can't be killing Mera off. Mera should have her own HBO Max DC show, even movies. She's such a huge, iconic, brave, bold female character. We should not be killing her off. What do I think about this storyline? I think it sounds fucking awesome. Now, I haven't read the comics where Arthur Mera's baby gets killed off, but it could be a thing, or as they said in the article, it may be a case where they kill off Mera and not the baby. Listen, killing off Mera still means that Amber Heard is sacked from Aquaman. It's okay in a way, but Mera is such a great character. And why not just recast her? It doesn't make sense to me. Abraham Herrera, Amelia is lovely. Yes, she is. Rewind the times. They had Aquaman test screening yesterday. I heard, yes, these leaks are from an Aquaman test screening. They like to leak things out when they want to distract you from stuff that's going on, negative stuff. There was negative news about Ezra Miller. They leaked the entirety of the test screening for The Flash. There's now negativity around Amber Heard. There's always negativity about her. So they've leaked this to distract you from signing that sack Amber Heard petition. It's all about distraction, everyone, but it's an interesting leak, and I think it's true. So I'm not going to pinch it. I'm not going to take it with a pinch of salt. I'm not going to tell you to take it with a pinch of salt. I think it's true that Arthur and Mera will have a baby. I think it will be a very young baby. I'm not sure if she's pregnant or she gives birth to it or whatever happens. Maybe she gives birth to it later in the movie, and Black Manta threatens to kill a newborn baby. And what happens somehow, maybe accidental, but actually Mera actually dies instead of the baby. What if they do something darker? What if Mera and Black Manta have an affair? What if Mera becomes disillusioned with Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman? They have an affair, and the child is actually Black Manta's. Now that would be a huge twist, wouldn't it? Abraham Herrera. I said Amber, I've got Amber Heard in the brain. Abraham Herrera also, her powers are awesome. I hope they use them wisely. So it's going to be very interesting because it sounds like it's a son instead of a daughter. So we'll have to wait and see. They wouldn't have known in the comics that a daughter was being introduced. So it's interesting. Rewind the time, Mick. What do you think about John Watts coming over to DC, maybe filming a future film? I will give you my theories about that. I will be talking about that in the other news section away from the DCEU Daily News at the end of this stream. So please stay tuned for that. So that's the rumor that Aquaman and Mera, Arthur and Mera, will have a child in this movie. That's all we know. It's an interesting leak. And by the way, test audiences loved Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. It looks like, just as I suspected, that this, apart from Amber Heard, is going to be an awesome movie. In fact, all the upcoming movies are great. The problems aren't with the movies, apart from the fact that The Flash wants to replace Superman, got it wrong again, wants to replace Superman with Supergirl. But is that a fake leak? Are they introducing a new actor as Superman in the Flash movie? I suspect so. Now, will Discovery and Zaslav allow them to replace Henry Cavill? Only time will tell. Emmanuel Cruz, do you think the new DCEU universe will have some of the actors from the past DCEU, like Peacemaker, Wonder Woman? It is more than likely that they'll compromise, but it's also likely that none of them will be involved. I don't know. It depends what they decide. It's clear that James Gunn's Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad are popular. It's clear that Jason Momoa's Aquaman, Arthur Curry, and Gal Gadot's Diana, Wonder Woman are extremely very popular with fans, so they may want to keep them. I'm still not convinced that Patty Jenkins' concept for Wonder Woman 3 is even going to be used, because she's been writing that movie for a very, very long time. Let's get on with today's show. So that's a very interesting leak from Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. So now let's go to our next headline. Legends of Tomorrow is cancelled at the CW. Legends of Tomorrow cancelled at the CW. The DC series joins Batwoman, which we'll talk about next, in exiting the network, whose owners are exploring a sale. Yes, the CW is for sale. That would mean they would lose any rights to DC content. They are now owned by CBS Television and Warner Brothers Television. Warner Brothers own the entirety of the DC IP, which means once you're not owned by Warner Brothers, you don't have any rights to DC. So they would have to pay for a licensing deal separately under the new ownership. So it's more than likely that they're getting rid of all the stuff they don't want, and the stuff they do want, like Superman and Lois, they'll keep on HBO Max. But Arrowverse will be dead as an entity. This is by Rick Porter of The Hollywood Reporter. Emmanuel Cruz, I like the series, but it's time to focus HBO Max. Emmanuel Cruz on. Well, I will tell you my opinion on Legends of Tomorrow very shortly after I've read this article. Rewind the times. The Flash is still going strong. I love that show. I wouldn't say it's going strong, my friend. So the CW has cancelled Legends of Tomorrow after 7 seasons. How did it get 7 seasons? The series is the second DC Comics-based show. The broadcast network cancelled on Friday following that of Batwoman. Again, we'll discuss that next. The end of Legends of Tomorrow and Batwoman leaves the CW with a smaller DC roster for the 2022-23 than it's had in years. The network has renewed The Flash, which is expected to conclude with its previously announced 9th season, and Superman and Lois, which currently are the only 2 DC shows set for the next season. Prolific producer Greg Berlanti has another DC show in the works with pilot Gotham Knights, which is not considered a Batwoman spin-off, but warning, it's made by the same producers, including Natalie Abrams, a former journalist. Yeah, I'm not yanking your chain. Oh dear! Excuse me, everyone. Legends of Tomorrow, which has often had a decidedly lighter tone than some of its Arrowverse compatriots, premiered in January 2016 and ran for 7 seasons and 110 episodes. We are heartbroken, but also immensely grateful for the amazing work our cast, crew, and writers have contributed to the little show that could. Co-showrunner Kita Shimizu wrote on Twitter Friday. The cancellation of 2 veteran shows are a rarity for the CW in recent years. Aside from pre-announced endings, the Mark Pedowitz-led network has cut very few shows in recent years, just 4 in fact. In the 4 seasons prior to this one, but the network is also facing big changes as parent companies Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount Global consider a sale of the broadcaster, with local TV giant Nexstar considered the leading candidate. So it's Paramount who co-own it with Warner? Well, whatever. They're going to lose their free licensing of DC. Rewind times. God bless you. Thank you. The CW was previously driven by revenue earned from a $1 billion Netflix deal that saw all of the Netflix network scripted series stream on the service. Yet, this is very important to understand. The reason Arrowverse has been so successful and they keep on renewing it, because it never mattered about the ratings on the actual CW. This $1 billion exclusive deal from Netflix for all the CW shows meant that they could keep on renewing them. $1 billion is a huge deal, right? The CW opted not to renew that deal with newer series going to either HBO Max or shows from Warner Brothers TV. Yeah, or Paramount Plus. Yeah, this is important. This is why Netflix are being hurt. They can no longer do these deals anymore because all these other networks and studios have got their own streaming services. That's why Netflix, or one of the many reasons why Netflix is in trouble. Series produced by CBS Studios. International revenue as well has largely vanished as those rights, rather than being sold off abroad and contribute millions to their respective studios, are now also being kept in-house. So they don't have international deals for countries that don't have HBO Max, which is kind of dumb. But then again, because these shows are being cancelled, it's kind of irrelevant. The CW has ordered 3 pilots this year, with prequels to Supernatural and Walker's spin-off joining Gotham Knights. While Nexstar knows how the shows on the CW perform, early indications are that the station group, if a deal can be reached, could keep things business as usual in the immediate future. You are wrong. And open its doors to buying from other suppliers beyond CBS Studios and Warner Brothers TV. Yeah, they're going to have to, because they won't be allowed to have any DC content on the new CW, maybe potentially owned by Nexstar. The network's typical mass early renewal, however, was pared down this year. In addition to The Flash and Superman and Lois, the network has picked up All American Kung Fu, Nancy Drew, Riverdale, and Walker for 22-23. But those 7 shows are fewer than the 10 or more the network has typically renewed early in recent years, because they're the only ones they can use. Because with a sale, you'll have that kind of preliminary time when it won't be owned by them yet, even after a sale. That'll probably go on till the end of the next season, and then they'll have to start buying. Veteran shows Charm, Dynasty, In the Dark, Legacies, Legends of Tomorrow, Roswell, New Mexico, and Stargate on Rookie's All-American Homecoming, The 4400, Naomi and Tom Swift are still in limbo. Roswell, In the Dark, and Tom Swift are set to be part of the network's summer lineup. A premiere date for season 3 of Stargate hasn't been set yet. So there's a lot of problems at the CW, because once the CW will have to create its own original teen content, because Warner Brothers are going to have nothing to do with them. That's why they're selling it off. They're selling it off because Discovery want nothing to do with the CW, because it doesn't make sense. Because the only reason the CW are making money is via that $1 billion Netflix deal, where Zaslav said, no, you can't do that anymore because we want all content in-house. Rightly so. We don't want to give our rivals a leg up, right, with our own fucking content. That's why the CW is dead. Without that $1 billion streaming deal, they're dead. It's over. And Discovery don't want them. And I don't blame them. I'm quite happy about this situation, because I know Superman and Lois will continue on HBO Max. That's the only show I value any longer, and they'll probably fuck that one up within time. If it's on HBO Max, they'll look after it like a fragile baby, which is very, very important. So that's Legends of Tomorrow, cancelled at the CW. Abraham Herrera, they should just make original HBO Max DC content. Kiss the CW goodbye. That's exactly what they're going to do, my friend. And the new CW owned by Nexstar will have to make its own original content. That's the future. Now, let me tell you my feelings about the cancellation of Legends of Tomorrow. At the time when Legends of Tomorrow premiered, I was a huge Arrowverse fan. We had Arrow, we had The Flash, and then Legends of Tomorrow came. At the beginning, it was a great show. We had Rip Hunter, played by Arthur Darvill, who played Rory Williams in Doctor Who. We had the Prison Break lads. We had Sarah, obviously, from Arrow, who was great. We had a great team. We had Victor Garber from Alias and Titanic. It was amazing. It was a great list of characters. It was DC's version, really, of Guardians of the Galaxy. And the first 2, maybe 3 seasons, it really worked. Then they started getting rid of all the iconic male characters. They got rid of, obviously, the guy, Wentworth Miller, who played whoever he played in Legends. He went. That was a big loss. We lost Victor Garber as well. He was awesome. We also lost his partner in crime. He played his character's partner, right? I forgot what they were called. You know, when one needed to go inside the other to be the firestorm or whatever it was. So the other lad left as well. So slowly but surely, all the good people were leaving the show. All the good, talented writers were leaving the show. And it became an SJW meltdown. At the moment, when there was an episode when one female character turns to the female character they're taking to Wonder Woman's home world, don't worry, there's no men there. When I heard that, I knew this show hated me and my gender, and I shouldn't be watching this show anymore. Somehow it kept on getting renewed, but it became an absolute joke. There was kind of hope for it when they brought Matt Ryan's John Constantine in. It was okay, but he should never have been on that show, and they ruined his character. And now the actor is playing someone else who is not John Constantine at the bequest of J.J. Abrams, because he's going to cast a John Constantine of colour. Of course he is. So, Legends of Tomorrow started off as a great show, a piece of entertainment made for entertainment, but then the SJWs, the propaganda merchants, got their hands on it, destroyed it like they destroy everything else, and now it's dead. I have no regrets about its cancellation. It should have been cancelled years ago. I was laughing when all the actors were trying to do the whole save Batwoman, save Legends of Tomorrow hashtag. Yeah, when they need their jobs, they'll talk to the little people, but only when they need to use you to do something. So I have no regrets or sad feelings about the cancellation of Legends of Tomorrow. Rewind times, what do you think is going to happen to the Flash show? It will probably either be cancelled after season 9. It makes sense because by then the sale would have gone through. They may give it a season 10, but I think they're looking to just cancel it unless they can restructure it, which would be great. We will see. Kyle Williams, I hear Warner Brothers Discovery want to sell their gaming division and license out the IPs. Right, let me get this clear. Right, we heard that AT&T wanted to do this a few years ago. No, this is not what they want to do. I've been told that David Zaslav and Discovery want to make as much money as possible from their gaming. Emmanuel Cruz, the Gotham Knights show shouldn't happen. Emmanuel Cruz, I like the idea of Legends of Tomorrow, but I felt that they started finding their groove towards the latter. No, I disagree. I think they found their groove at the beginning and lost their groove after a couple of years. Abraham Herrera, I watched Legends up until Constantine showed up, but lost track of it. Bat Super, J.J. Abrams ain't gonna do anything. Bat Super, it feels like none of his projects are getting done. It is weird. They're taking a very long time. We will see what happens. We will see what Discovery and Zaslav make of J.J. Abrams, because WB have paid him a lot of money to do this stuff. He's meant to be producing a Superman film. Where is it? Maybe doing Constantine and Zatanna. Maybe he's just taking time developing these projects. We will have to wait and see. Ronnie Dodge, morning, mate. Good morning, Ronnie. So, also, Batwoman has been cancelled at the CW. So let me clear my throat and let's get into it. Batwoman Season 4 not happening. DC TV show cancelled after Season 3. Now there's a surprise. Ronnie Dodge, morning mate. Only the Flash of the CW is left. Superman and Lois is also getting another season. After waiting for an extensive time to find out its future, the CW has officially cancelled the Arrowverse series Batwoman after 3 seasons by Andy, whose surname I can never pronounce. After an extensive waiting period, Batwoman Season 4 will not be happening. I told you it wasn't going to happen. Confirmed showrunner Caroline Dries. One of the Arrowverse shows to have kept the franchise alive over the last few years is Batwoman. One of the shows to keep the Arrowverse alive. Are you sure about that? Ronnie Dodge, Superman and Lois, that's good. Which got a creative retool during Season 2 after Ruby Rose, who played Kate Kane, exited the series after 1 season. No, she didn't just exit the series. She was driven off. She nearly lost her life in an accident she should never have been involved in. And Ruby has basically listed all the things that happened, the toxicity that happened. Now, of course, they've denied it. Her co-star, Cameron Johnson, stabbing her in the back, and he got a few directed episodes for it as well. How does it feel now, Cameron, when you don't even have a job? Good. And I don't normally celebrate my fellow actors being out of work. At the start of Batwoman Season 2, Javicia Leslie took over as the lead, with the creative team introducing the new character, Ryan Wilder, to take over Kate's legacy. Batwoman Season 3 came to a conclusion earlier this year, as it is one of the Arrowverse's shows to run with a fewer episodes. While the CW tends to renew most of their DC TV shows, this year was quite different. At the start of 2022, the news broke that Warner Media and Paramount, who co-own the CW, were putting the network up for sale. Because of this, it delayed the CW's renewal and cancellation process, leaving many shows' fates up in the air, including Batwoman. After waiting almost 2 months to learn its future, the CW has made its decision on Batwoman. Caroline Dries, showrunner and creator of the DC drama, broke the news today on Twitter that the network has informed the Batwoman crew that Season 4 will not be happening, cancelling the series after 3 seasons. Batwoman was one of the 3 DC TV shows that were on the bubble, as Legends of Tomorrow and Naomi have yet to learn if they will get another season. Well, let me tell you, I actually thought Legends would get another season. I was wrong about that. I got a feeling, because Naomi is basically produced and basically is created by Ava DuVernay, I suspect that will survive, but nobody's watching it. I can tell you that. So it's going to be interesting. So this is from Caroline Dries, the showrunner. She actually used to write on Smallville. I don't know what went wrong with her. Just got the sad news that Batwoman will not be seeing a Season 4. I'm bummed, but full of gratitude. Well, I'm honoured to make 51 episodes. So many inspiring, brilliant people contributed to this series. Thank you, producers, cast and crew. Thank you, fans. We love you. Abraham Herrera, who lets these people work in Hollywood? Sounds like it's full of bullies. Well, bullies let bullies work with them. Emmanuel Cruz, re-watching Moon Knight. Emmanuel Cruz, Naomi looks bad. I haven't seen it, to be honest, so it may be brilliant. But it's not doing well with numbers. That's not a surprise. They tried to attach it to Superman and Lois. But ultimately, all people do when you attach something that's not interesting is stop watching when the good thing finishes. So they think they're clever, but they're not. Batwoman Season 3 ended with most of its plot points wrapped, meaning they have fewer cliffhangers to leave unfinished. In comparison to Legends of Tomorrow, the season finale concluded with a brief glimpse at a new mystery villain that would have likely been the big bad for Batwoman Season 4. As sad as the news is, the upside is that the end of Batwoman isn't necessarily the end of the characters, especially for the heroine herself. The Flash Armageddon has Leslie's Ryan hang out with the other heroes for the first time since the character's creation. In theory, The Flash Season 9 or any of the other Arrowverse shows can easily bring Ryan or any of the other Batwoman characters back for guest spots. But they're not going to do that. You're dreaming, mate. Right, rewind the times. What's left on CW? Just The Flash and Lois and Clark? Yeah, and Riverdale and things like that. But they've cancelled a lot of things, and a lot of things are still on the bubble. The bubble means they haven't announced if they're deleting, cancelling them, or renewing them. Following Batman's I'll get it right eventually. Following Batwoman's cancellation, however, it remains to be seen what will happen with Legends of Tomorrow. We know now it's cancelled, and Naomi. While Naomi isn't part of the Arrowverse per se, the DCT drama is set to air its 2-hour season finale on Tuesday, May 10th. As far as Legends of Tomorrow Season 8 is concerned, the time-travelling ensemble drama is currently still waiting to hear its fate. We know it's being cancelled. The only confirmed detail for a potential Season 8 is that Donald Glover's Booster Gold will be a series regular, with the CW's fate up in the air and Warner Brothers Discovery having just confirmed its merger. Only time will tell if Batwoman will be the only DC TV show to get cancelled. We already know Legends has been cancelled. So now let me give you my reaction to the cancellation of Batwoman. This show should never have happened the way it was. Grant Gustin needs to start making movies. He made one, actually, about a dog on Netflix. Check it out. I forgot what it's called. He's too good an actor to keep doing silly shows. I agree. I think he could be a good lead for interesting movies like Daniel Radcliffe and Andrew Garfield. What Dan's done with his career is sensational, of course. Right, my view on the cancellation. Batwoman should never have happened as a TV show as it happened. The early Batwoman comics, the good Batwoman comics before they went all extremist on her, she was a great character. So many people loved her. She inspired women, girls, men, you name it. That I speak to a lot of fans. They loved the early Batwoman comics. And then the extremists came in and took over her. It's the extremist version you see on the television show. The fact that she's gay or bi or whatever she is, right? There's nothing wrong with being bi or gay, of course. But it was all about extreme and left propaganda. And obviously they had to cast a gay actor to play a gay character because nobody can act anymore, right? Nobody can pretend. The whole concept of acting. They brought Ruby Rose in. They thought they were being clever because she'd been in John Wick. It failed. Ruby Rose was a nightmare for them. They were a nightmare for Ruby Rose. They had such a toxic Ezra Miller type of situation. They had to bin her. She had an accident. She could have died. Crazy stuff. So then they decided to cast Javicia Leslie as an original character, Ryan Wilder. Now, it's my opinion that probably Ryan worked a little bit better than Kate Kane did because Ruby isn't a very good actor. And Javicia is probably not the best actor ever, but much more talented, I think, as an actor than Ruby is. So I think it kind of worked. But by this time, nobody was interested. The only people watching it were really people hate watching it and reviewing it on their channels. I will never do this on my channel. I will never hate watch and re-watch it. And it brings you a lot of views and a lot of subs. It's just not something that's interesting to me, and especially with DC, because I love DC and I don't want to hate watch DC stuff. If I don't like something that DC do, I just won't watch it. And so it was always going to be cancelled. It should never have happened the way it did, the show. There had some toxicity towards it. As I say, I just laughed at it. It was always going to be a disaster. It should have been cancelled after its first season, but they wanted to save face. And I don't think even Netflix took it as part of their $1 billion deal. They didn't. You actually had to buy the series on Amazon Prime in the UK and here in Europe. So it wasn't even good enough for the $1 billion deal on Netflix. The show was a disaster. The show was embarrassing. Nobody on the show actually liked each other. It was a very tense, horrible atmosphere. Remember what the extreme left tell you about compassion and kindness, that at least compassionate and kind people in the world. And again, their extremism and propaganda has failed and embarrassed them. Batwoman is done. You will never see those characters or that show again. Rewind the Times, Rescued by Ruby, it's Grant's movie. Grant's a very good actor. He would be my first choice to replace Ezra as the Flash. Emmanuel Cruz, I heard the show was solid towards the later part of the show. You talk about Batwoman. Mark Liu, I was watching and not hate watching. Good for you. Mark Liu actually came after the Netflix deal and was held for HBO Max. You do know, Mark, I know your propaganda won't like this, but you do understand that they could have added it to the $1 billion deal, even though it came afterwards. Because I know about television, I know about the industry, so I'm afraid that doesn't work. I'm glad there's one of you who are watching it because you like the show. But most people didn't like this show. It was an extremist political show, a show that hated men, because the extreme left, of course, hate men. For some reason, it's up to them. They put everyone in one box and judge them as one person. Anyway, Mark, it's gone. It's cancelled. The CW is being sold. They will have no right to DC content after that sale. The CW is gone. End of story. And I'm happy to be reporting these cancellations. Emmanuel Cruz, I still haven't watched it. You're not missing much. So, let's go on to our next story. Matt Reeves talks about that Joker deleted scene in The Batman. Mark Lou, you do know HBO Max needs content, do they? They need content. They have HBO content. One of the most proudest producers of content in the world. They have multiple Warner Brothers Pictures content on it. Superman and Lois, a show that's really funded by HBO and not by the CW, and which is good and run by a good person, is going to survive on HBO Max. There's plenty of content for HBO, Mark. Try again. We continue with the DCEU Daily. Why Joker's incredible deleted scene was cut from The Batman. The Batman director Matt Reeves explains why the deleted scene featuring Barry Coogan's Joker was ultimately removed from the film's final cut by Ellie Clark of Screen Rant. Director Matt Reeves explains why the Joker's deleted scene in The Batman was removed from the film's final cut. After its incredibly strong box office run, The Batman still has audiences talking almost 2 months on from its release. Putting a darker spin on the classic comic book hero, The Batman introduced new, younger Bruce Wayne, played by Robert Pattinson, and followed him through his second year as Gotham's protector. Zoe Kravitz also starred as Selena Cole, otherwise known as Catwoman, while Colin Farrell made an unrecognizable appearance as the Penguin. Emmanuel Cruz, do you know the CW will still have rights to their shows like Riverdale and All American? I'm pretty sure Archie Comics is a WBIP. Yes, anything WB or anything belonging to other people, they will have to pay for the license. But I've heard that Discovery do not want them touching any DC stuff, and I think it will be the same for Archie. I think Riverdale is going to do one more season. I don't think it's going to last for long. So I think time's up for Riverdale anyway very soon as well, so it won't be an issue. The final moments of Reeves' DC debut teased the presence of another classic Batman villain currently residing in Arkham Asylum, when a shadowy figure, Barry Coogan, could be heard conversing with the film's key antagonist, the Riddler, Paul Dano. While it was heavily implied that this mysterious inmate was the Joker, this was not confirmed until Reeves released an exciting deleted scene shortly after the film's release, which offered audiences a better look at Coogan's twisted take on the clown prince of crime. The short scene saw Batman visit Joker in Arkham in order to try and learn more about Riddler, his motives, and offered a handful of small glimpses of the villain. The short scene, it was 5 minutes long. 5 minutes is a long time for a scene. Emmanuel Cruz, no, Abraham Herrera. The thing is, HBO has good content, but most of it's not for average audiences. Like The Righteous Gemstones is a crazy show that hypocrisy of religion. Yes, Abraham, but they have a variety of content. They also have a Harley Quinn animated series on there. They've got Bugs Bunny, they've got Looney Tunes. They've got a variety of stuff on there. It's not an issue. Emmanuel Cruz, yeah, the actors want to move past Riverdale, especially Cole Sprouse, stating in a GQ interview, listen, those guys are tired. The amount of episodes you have to do on these CW shows is paramount to slave fucking labor. Tom Welling spoke about it in his Inside of You interview with Michael Rosenbaum, his co-star. He nearly had a car crash. KP Appa had a car crash, who obviously plays Archie in Riverdale. It's slave labor. They use these actors so badly, and these guys need a break, and they need to work on stuff that isn't 20 episodes a fucking year. So anyway, now in a recent commentary breakdown of this exciting scene, Reeves has discussed why this more in-depth introduction to the Joker did not make the film's final cut. Shared by Warner Brothers, the commentary offers a number of interesting notes from Reeves, particularly as he discusses how Joker's scene narratively ended up being unnecessary. I don't agree, by the way, since much of what the Joker divulged to Batman had previously been revealed over the course of the movie. Why shoot the scene? I'll tell you in a minute. Reeves went on to praise Pattinson and Coogan's work on the scene, stating he always really loved the work that the two actors put into their scene. Check out Reeves' full quote below. Emmanuel Cruz. Yeah, the actors want to move past Riverdale. Oh no, I've read that. Emmanuel Cruz, CW episode format is outdated. It certainly is. Emmanuel Cruz, they get their scripts on the day of shooting sometimes. Yes, it's ridiculous. Emmanuel Cruz, why do you think Michael Rosenbaum, Lex Luthor from Smallville, resisted Belante's appeals to play Lex in Crisis on Infinite Earths? They had no script for him. They didn't tell him how much he was going to get, what they were going to do. He smartly said no. When we were putting the movie together, this scene, even though I think that Barry and Rob did such a cool scene together, it was one of these things where narratively it wasn't necessary. You got everything that Barry was telling him, that Joker was telling him over the course of the movie, and given the great length of the movie, it helped the story to take the scene out. I can think of so many other scenes you could have taken out instead of this iconic one, Matt, but I always really loved the work that Barry and Rob did in the scene. Both Coogan's appearance within the film's theatrical cut and the release of the deleted scene immediately sparked questions as to whether Joker could be the lead villain. In the recently confirmed The Batman 2, the recent Warner Brothers panel at CinemaCon saw Reeves confirm that he was officially working on The Batman 2, with Pattinson set to reprise his role. However, the director kept any other major details, such as the sequel's big bad, tightly under wraps. Reeves previously stated Joker's short cameo within the film was not included to specifically tease fans that the character would have a larger part to play in the sequel movie, but did not rule out the possibility of expanding his role in the future. Emmanuel Cruz, yeah, I've read that. Ronnie Dodge, reading Aquaman Lost Kingdom link sounds interesting. Yeah, we spoke about it, Ronnie. We spoke about the child of Aquaman and Mira earlier on. Abraham Herrera, no, of course. HBO Max is not lacking content. Even more so now that Discovery content is going to be added to it. I really hope they don't try to pull what Disney did with Star Plus. They only needed to add. Abraham Herrera, it's to Disney Plus under password for parents. One could argue that cutting this scene from the Batman's runtime and then releasing it separately has ultimately added to the hype that has surrounded Coogan's Joker. That was the whole point. We'll talk about it. Since he was first revealed, while many would likely agree with Reeves' sentiment that the scene would have been somewhat unnecessary, so why did he shoot it? For the film's overall plot, the short sequence truly showcases Coogan's talents and offers an exciting tease for this actor's own iteration of the character, should he ever have the opportunity to reprise the role. As for now, audiences can hope that any updates surrounding this next installment of the Batman will be revealed soon. So, the Batman had a 5-minute Joker and Batman sequence. It was like Silence of the Lambs, quid pro quo, that kind of thing. Batman asking for some kind of knowledge on this character, the Riddler, if he could help him, because he's a criminal. And he's obviously helped the Batman before. Some people say this makes Batman look weak. No, Batman's not perfect. He doesn't know everything. He's not Dr. Gregory House. He's not Sherlock Holmes. He's Batman. He's cool. He's kick-ass. But everyone needs help, right? I mean, police even fucking use psychics sometimes. We know that for a fact. So anyway, the only reason they shot this 5-minute Batman Joker scene was not to add it to the movie. Forget the bullshit about it not being needed in the movie. They made this movie to hype up the marketing for the movie. And after the second, third week, when it was dying down a little bit, as all movies do, they were able to leak this scene, release this scene and bring the hype back and basically bring more box office to the movie. It was a very smart move. Personally, I hope he puts it back into the home release. I really do, because I think it's amazing and it should be part of that. So we move on. So that was an interesting article. So all week, former Batman Returns writer has been talking. Batman writer points out never before revealed Keaton and Bale difference. Batman Returns writer Daniel Waters pokes fun at the speeches Christian Bale delivers while in the Batsuit in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy by Alexander Harrison of Screen Rant. Batman Returns writer Daniel Walters pokes fun at Christian Bale's speeches in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight movies. The former film released in 1992 as Tim Burton's sequel to 1989's Batman, which kicked off Warner Bros.' initial movie series based on the DC superhero. In the mid-2000s, Nolan rebooted the franchise with Bale in the starring role, ultimately directing a trilogy comprised of Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Nolan's trilogy was by design quite different from the Burton and Joel Schumacher movies that made up initial WB Batman series, and this can really be traced back to the reception of Batman Returns. While a critical and financial success, Burton's movie received backlash from parents who considered it too dark for children, and studio executives in part credited this vision with the decline in box office performance respective to the '89 Batman. Schumacher's two sequels pursued a lighter tone, though the silliness of Batman and Robin effectively killed the franchise, and Nolan's gritty reboot succeeded because it was as far from the interpretation as possible. In an interview with Vulture, however, Walters notes that Nolan's Dark Knight movies got less realistic in at least one respect. Recalling the freedom he had when working with the comic book characters, the screenwriter says he initially gave Michael Keaton's Batman many long speeches about the state of Gotham, only for the actor to tell him that Bruce Wayne would keep his statements brief while wearing the cowl. Walters then says how funny it was to see Nolan do away with this rule and force Bale to keep up his famously gravelly Batman voice for long stretches of dialogue. Check out his quote below. First of all, congratulations, Christian Bale, for doing those long speeches in that gravelly voice. But Christian Bale is a fucking soldier, right? With Batman, I gave him all these speeches about how Gotham City doesn't deserve protection. He's really kind of bitter and cynical. Michael Keaton looks at the script and goes, when Bruce Wayne is Batman, he shouldn't be having long speeches because Michael knows Batman. So I cut them. Then when I finally saw Christopher Nolan's Batman, he did not play by that rule. When Christian Bale is wearing the Batman suit, he's given these long speeches. I am the darkness in the light. You are just expecting Christian Bale to pull out a Fiji and take a sip because he's having to keep up the voice for so long. As Walters points out, it is certainly amusing to have Bale delivering monologues as Batman. I don't think it's amusing. I think it's great. And this aspect of his performance has been a prime candidate for parody. I still don't understand why. In the years since, of course, the Dark Knight trilogy didn't go without a few swipes at its predecessors, with a line in The Dark Knight poking fun at the inability of Keaton's Batman to turn his head in the restrictive batsuit. It's only fair that Walters takes his opportunity to hit back at the acclaimed Nolan movies for their supposed commitment to realism. In his interview, Walters also notes that the success of Matt Reeves' The Batman has helped grow appreciation for Batman Returns, which he claims has never been particularly popular with dedicated fans of the character. Reeves and Robert Pattinson's version of the Caped Crusader is an interesting synthesis of Burton's. Nolan's embracing a more stylized aesthetic while doubling down on the grittiness and speechifying of the Dark Knight movies. It will be interesting to see how WB manages the return of Keaton's Batman in The Flash. He talks a lot. And whether the movie will try to recapture the tone of Batman Returns or rework the portrayal to fit with more recent trends. So, first of all, I don't care about Christian Bale's gravelly voice. I don't know why people make such an issue about it. And Batman making speeches, emotional speeches, I think it's great. I think it's compelling. It's nothing wrong with it. And I don't care that Keaton couldn't turn his head. It ain't my problem. It was Keaton's problem. And he was getting paid millions of dollars to do it. End of story. We move on. This is the DCEU Daily. This is the place for all of you to get your DC live action updates. And at the end of each video, we look at other news in entertainment. So we will be going to John Watts quitting Fantastic Four at the end of the stream. If you're watching the rerun of this, this is a video. Stay tuned. Batman Returns. Michael Keaton reflects on Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Rewind the times. Who do you want to see as Batman 2 villain? Me, I'd love Hush or Mr. Freeze. Why can't we have both of them? Why can't we have a Batman Arkham and have a lot of them? But yeah, Hush was hinted about. It could be Hush. It could be anyone. Batman Returns star Batman Returns star Michael Keaton praises co-star Michelle Pfeiffer's iconic performance as the on-again, off-again anti-hero Catwoman by Brandon Louise of Screen Rant. Batman Returns star Michael Keaton has recently reflected on co-star Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Keaton first donned the cape and cowl in Tim Burton's Batman in 1989, before returning for its sequel with Pfeiffer in Batman Returns. Originally a controversial choice due to his previous comedic work, Keaton quickly won over critics and fans alike and became the definitive Batman for a generation. Keaton is set to return to the role in the upcoming DCEU films Batgirl starring Leslie Grace and The Flash starring Ezra Miller, both picking up where Batman Returns left off. Unlike Keaton, Pfeiffer's casting as Catwoman was met with immediate praise. In Batman Returns, the actor played Selena Kyle, a down-on-her-luck secretary for villain Max Schreck, Christopher Walken. After he nearly kills her by pushing her out of a window, Kyle is miraculously revived by dozens of cats, becoming reborn as the feline-inspired anti-hero. She uses her new persona to destroy Shrek's business and exact revenge on her former employer. By the way, cat saliva does have healing entities. That's a fact. Before people say it's unrealistic. So where are we? Bat Super. I want to see ventriloquist Scarface as a villain in Batman 2. That'd be cool. Rewind the time. She was amazing. My favorite Catwoman. She was amazing. Michelle was amazing in everything that she did. In a recent email via THR, Keaton has reflected on his Batman Returns co-star's distinctive portrayal of Catwoman. Keaton showered Pfeiffer with praise for her role as the on-again, off-again Batman villain and romantic interest. She pulled off the almost impossible combo of sexy, ironic, tragic, and dangerous, and just plain good, he said. Yes, she did. Look, Shell, wow. An actor of my generation. She was in Scarface as well with Al Pacino. She did so much. Pfeiffer's, I think she was in that film anyway. Pfeiffer's latex-clad version of Catwoman is confident and overtly sexual, although she carries a whip and dons claws on her fingers. Her appeal is her primary weapon of choice to disinherit her opponents before taking them out. Although Batman Returns was not as well received by critics or fans as its predecessor, can I just make one thing clear? Batman Returns, in my opinion, is better than Batman 89. I don't think it's overcrowded like some fools think. I think Max Schreck is an amazing character, an original character. DeVito's Penguin is fantastic. It's a great movie. Pfeiffer does brilliant the Catwoman from the comics. The Catwoman and Selena Kyle that actually love Bruce Wayne, but are also a villain. I love that version of the character. Rewind the time. She did say at the end of the movie she was going to say one more life for next Christmas. Be really cool to see her in the Flash. In the Flash, a cameo. I think she's going to be in it. There's a lot of things that you don't know about the Flash movie. There's things I recently found out about the Flash movie. I think you're going to like the movie. I think people will like the movie. And hopefully we can all get past what Ezra has done. There have been times in movie history where actors have done despicable things, but we've gone on to enjoy their performances. I hope this can be the case, because I'm a DC fan and it's an ambitious movie, but it's still very suspicious that the director has not said a thing. Rewind the time. Mick, you're getting me excited, buddy. So, on Michelle Pfeiffer's potential return as Selena Kyle Catwoman in the DCEU movie The Flash, I think it's a secret, it's a possibility, it could happen. Watch this space. This is the place where you will be told the truth. So I'm not ready to reveal what I know about The Flash, maybe what else I recently found out in the past day or so, but I can tell you that everything's going to be okay, and it's a very impressive film. I still don't know what's going on with Andy Muschietti, though. Pfeiffer is one of many actresses who have portrayed Catwoman in a live-action role since the 1960s with Julie Newmar. Oh, I love Julie Newmar. Was first cast as the Cat Burglar in 1966 Batman television series starring Adam West. Pfeiffer joined a long line of Catwomen, including Lee Merriweather, Eartha Kitt, Halle Berry, Anne Hathaway, and most recently Zoe Kravitz, who has currently stepped into the role in the Batman opposite Robert Pattinson as Keaton. Can attest Pfeiffer's iconic performance in Batman Returns stands out as one of the best and most unique portrayals of Catwoman in the Batman film history. She wasn't originally supposed to get this part. I think someone else was. I forgot who it was. I think she got pregnant or something like that. She got the opportunity. She took it. The performance is great, but it's not just about an actor's performance. The writing, the directing, Tim Burton's vision for Batman Returns is perfect. It's one of the greatest comic book movies ever made, in my opinion. Rewind the times. At CinemaCon, they did say he was the director still. Yes, they called him the director, Rewind. Of course, they're going to call him the director. You know what else they said at CinemaCon? That the Shazam! Fury of the Gods movie was going to be released on the same date as Avatar 2. A day later, after saying that, they changed the date to 5 days later. You really can't trust anything these people say. Trust me over them. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not telling you that Andy is definitely not going to be the director and it's going to be reshot by someone else like J.J. Abrams. That's what I'm feeling. That's my gut feeling. That's what I'm feeling about this situation. I could be wrong. I'm fine with being wrong. But I smell a Justice League type of rat here. We will find out more. I believe the reshoots will either start in May or June. So let's see if I'm right or wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll say, look, guys, I was wrong. It was a hunch. It turned out wrong. Thankfully. Great. If I'm right, I'm going to rub it in and say, you see, I told you, like I always do. So we continue with today's DCEU Daily, which is nearly an hour long. Wow. I hope I'm not boring you. So now we go to Superman and Lois, and Jordan Alas has been interviewed and has been talking about the shock ending to episode 10 of series 2. Kyle Williams, I can't wait to see a trailer for The Flash. Yes, looking forward to all these trailers. Really, do you remember when Grace Randolph said a trailer was going to drop like a day or so ago for Shazam! Fury of the Gods and Black Adam, and it didn't? That woman never gets anything right, does she? Superman and Lois Season 2, Episode 10, Villain Reveal, explained by Star. Jordan Alas discusses Superman and Lois Season 2, Episode 10, shocking twist, explaining Bizarro Jonathan Kent's character and motivation, by Nathan Graham Lowry of Screen Rant. Rewind the time. Show's going great, Mick. I work third shift. It's 2:39 a.m. Wow. Where I'm at. You make my nights awesome, bud. Well, I'm glad to improve your time. I'm glad to improve somebody's life because it's very rare for me to get good reactions. So it's good that you enjoy it and it's cool. I mostly do this. I'm glad I've got a set of people who watch these videos and I'm glad to come in for you. But I'll tell you the truth. I'm a very vain person. I love the sound of my own voice. I love my appearance. I know that's shocking. I love doing this. And if I never become successful at doing this, it's okay. I love this shit that I talk about. I love you guys coming in. And I love the sound of my own voice. So it's cool. And I'm glad you're enjoying it, Rewind. Superman and Lois star Jordan Alas has discussed Season 2, Episode 10, shocking twist, explaining Bizarro Jonathan Kent's character and motivation. Alas plays the inverse world counterpart to Superman's son. In the CW DC Comics series, the actor stars alongside Tyler Hoechlin, Elizabeth Tulloch, and Alex Garfin as the Kent family. Following the surprise appearance of Bizarro Superman played by Hoechlin at the start of the second season, Superman and Lois has taken fans into the alternate homeworld of Clark Kent's doppelganger. After cult leader Ali Alliston, Raya Klistet, escaped into the inverse world in episode 9, 30 Days and 30 Nights, Superman pursued the villain, disappearing from his respective world for a month until the Bizarro version of Jonathan reveals to the Kent family that he arrived too late to stop her. After exploring the inverse world and Bizarro's origin in episode 10, Bizarro in a Bizarro world, the episode revealed that Clark had learned the inverse world version of his son was in fact in league with Ali all along. Yeah, that's great. That's why this show's so great. Following Jonathan's shocking betrayal, Alas has discussed the surprising truth of Bizarro Jonathan. In an interview with Digital Spy, Alas discussed how he approached playing a twisted version of his original character. The actor said he played Bizarro Jonathan with different mannerisms to his Prime Earth counterpart, wanting to display him with a subtle arrogance that didn't make him too obvious an antagonist figure. despite playing the character with an underlining villainous side. Alas also emphasized that the character was still young and learning about the world, suggesting that Bizarro Jonathan isn't yet fully dedicated villain. Check out Alas's full response below. I was trying to play it as he has an entirely different demeanor about him than regular Jonathan. He walks with a different posture and has an arrogance about him. It's subtle, but it's there. I had to tone it down just enough in that first scene where I appear so it wouldn't be too obvious. But I also didn't want to drop it completely because obviously John L's not an actor. He still doesn't fully understand how the world works and people's motives because he's still young and naive. That was an interesting dynamic to play because it's not just full out bad guys. Well, episode 10 discussed the origins of the Bizarro Ken family. Fans are now finally receiving the long-awaited backstories for the Arrowverse's Clark and Lois. The couple's Daily Planet days were explored in the comic. Earth Prime, Superman and Lois in the series' second issue, a flashback story explored the beginning of Clark and Lois's marriage when they were still employees of the newspaper company. The Prime Earth Superman would settle in Smallville with Lois and his sons after the buyout of the Daily Planet in the first season. However, the inverse world Superman instead became a celebrity of his world, neglecting his family and becoming obsessed with his fame and his heroics and the fame his heroics bring. Like the other residents of the inverse world, Bizarro Jonathan is a stark contrast to his Prime Earth counterpart. Not only is Bizarro Jonathan gifted with powers, but he has grown up with a colder childhood, unlike the loving environment of Prime Earth's Kent family. However, with a less suggesting that Bizarro Jonathan is still learning, Prime Earth may show the villain that a different life is possible before Superman and Lois's finale airs on June. Watching this episode, I was reminded of the job that Todd Helbing has done, but being reminded of the first 3 years and the job Todd did on The Flash. He dropped the ball a little bit in season 3, but the first 2 seasons of The Flash were amazing. I hope he never drops the ball with Superman and Lois because Superman deserves what he's giving it right now. No live action has done Bizarro like this. And I know Smallville, did Bizarro well, but we never saw a Bizarro world because basically Bizarro was a kind of Wraith in a way, bit different. Wasn't the real Bizarro from the comics. They're actually being faithful to the Bizarro concept from the comics, and in the comics there's a Bizarro world, and Superman and Lois is exploring this. Live action is exploring this Bizarro world for a first time. So it's an absolute fantastic achievement. And to see young Jordan Alas, playing a different version to his character, a parallel universe and, a multiverse version, and pulling it off is absolutely fantastic. Some people called this episode confusing. Listen, I don't know what you found confusing. I thought it was very easy to follow. Superman and Lois is one of the best adaptations of Superman in live action ever. And as a Superman fan, I'm finally proud that we can all congregate together and not argue and be divisive and have discourse about a version of Superman in live action, but unite together and enjoy it. And it's absolutely fantastic. And finally today, we're going to talk about some very sad news. Prolific comic book artist from DC and Marvel, Neil Adams, died yesterday. I had a lot of time for Neil. Neil wasn't just a great comic book guy. He loved comics. He loved these characters. And he was involved in the creation in so many iconic graphic novels. So we're going to read an article and talk about him for a little bit, because as a DC fan, that's what I want to do. And this is one of the many reasons I created this channel. Neil Adams, Batman artist and comic legend, passes away at 80. Actually, sadly, I thought he died. I was wrong about that and I apologize. So I was kind of really probably more shocked than most people. But I really liked Neil. I thought he was an amazing guy. The remarkable Batman artist Neil Adams has unfortunately passed away at 80. He's survived by his family and legendary body of work. By Williams Beaumont of Screen Rant. Neil Adams, one of the most influential Batman artists in the character's history, passed away at the age of 80. According to his wife, Marilyn Adams, the legendary comics creator passed due to sepsis on Thursday. Kind of how my mum died, or one of the things that caused my mum's death in the end. Most well known for his illustrator work in the 1960s and 1970s for DC Comics, Adams was also a fighter for the rights of those who worked in the comic book industry. He was a really great guy. He was special. He's in one of my DC documentaries. I forgot what it's called. It's about 2 hours long, but it's amazing. He talks a lot in it, talking about people buy comic books. They're better than any book, any film. People buy them because they love them. He had such a love for the art form and the genre. And it was just great to see in someone who did the job as well. Because when you work in a job, you can get tired of it. But he never grew tired of the comic book genre, which was brilliant. Alongside his frequent collaboration with Dennis O'Neil, another legend, Adams altered the perception of the Caped Crusader and from the light-hearted, wacky adventurer back to a darker, moodier and more violent vigilante. Adams' art amplified both the human and inhuman aspects of Batman, emphasizing every muscle and athletic movement while also making extensive use of the character's cape and cowl to project a sense of dramatic flair. One of the artist's most famous representations of the character was when Batman fought Ra's al Ghul without a shirt, cape or gloves. Ra's al Ghul is a villain that Adams and O'Neil created that went on to become one of the most enduring members of Batman's Rogues Gallery. The imagery of Batman's bare chest combined with his iconic mask is a great representation of how Adams elevated the character's dual nature through his art. He really was. He was a conceptual genius. Now, according to the Hollywood Reporter, Adams passed away Thursday of sepsis. He is survived by his wife Marilyn, his sons Josh, Jason, Joel, his two daughters Chris and Zia, as well as his grandchildren. Given Adams' near legendary status, many comic book creators also spoke out about how much Adams' works inspired them. Creators such as Marvel artist Brian Hitch wrote about how important his work was to comic book creators receiving fair compensation. Yeah, and this is something today that's an issue. We've seen Disney and Marvel rip off comic book writers and artists today. So let's read what Brian Hitch had to say. It's always sad to hear of the death of a fellow comic book pro, but when it's a legend like Neil Adams, it feels seismic. You simply can't understate the effect Neil had on the industry. There's a clear line in the sand, a before Neil and an after Neil. Almost all of us, in one way or the other, are in a post-Neil Adams comic book industry. It's not just that he pretty much reinvented how we all thought about the way comics should look. He was instrumental in fight for creator rights, for art returns to royalties. Neil changed the game in possibly more ways than most could try to. In his 20s, he brought an energy to drawing comics that almost nobody else could have. He redefined Batman for generations. He changed how we thought about drawing and realism in comics. If you've been influenced by almost any comic artist in the last 55 years, chances are Neil is there somewhere, either directly or though others, from me to Jim Lee to Alex Ross to countless others. He was a towering figure, both creatively and his forceful personality. It's hard to lose a legend like Neil. He seemed immortal. In many ways, he is. Great sentiments there by Brian Hitch, a comic book writer. In addition to championing social issues in comics, Adams crusaded for the rights of comic creators. He helped form the Academy of Comic Book Arts, as well as the Comics Creators Guild, through which he pushed the unionization, better compensation, and better representation for workers in the industry. He lobbied for the proper crediting and payment of the creators of Superman, Jerry Siegel, and Joe Shuster. Wow, what a legend. After hearing that they could not attend a Broadway musical featuring their character, he also led a successful campaign to have publishers return original art pages to their artists, allowing them to have new revenue streamed by selling their work to collectors. Neil Adams was the recipient of many awards throughout his career, being inducted into the Eisner Awards, Will Eisner Comic Book Hall of Fame in 1998, the Harvey Awards Jack Kirby Hall of Fame in 1999, and the Inkwell Arts Joe Sinnott Hall of Fame in 2019. In DC Comics' 50th anniversary publication, 50 Who Made DC Great, Adams was among those named. Quite right too. Adams' work inspired generations of artists, from Frank Miller to his own children, who have contributed to comic books as artists themselves. Thanks to Neil Adams' efforts, the comic book industry saw true inspiration and justice. Absolutely spot on. Neil Adams was a talented artist. He was a creator of concepts. He changed the comic book game. He was brave. He was bold. He protected his industry. He protected artists and writers, creating a union. He was an absolute legend. Neil Adams, rest in peace. And finally today, we go to our In Other News section, where we talk about John Wong, the prolific director that gave us the Spider-Man trilogy, Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, then you forgot the title there, and Spider-Man No Way Home. He was tapped to do a Fantastic Four reboot. He's now quit, personally, saying he hasn't been removed, but he's had enough of making superhero content and he wants to move on to other things. So let's see what he had to say. So this was a surprise. We had a lot of big news yesterday. So anyway, MCU Fantastic Four movie loses director. No Way Home's John Watts exits. Spider-Man No Way Home director John Watts is no longer attached to direct the MCU's Fantastic Four movie, as he takes a break from superhero movies by Cooper Hood of Screen Rant. Spider-Man No Way Home director John Watts has exited Marvel's Fantastic Four movie. When Walt Disney Studios acquired 20th Century Fox several years ago, it soon became clear that the Marvel Cinematic Universe would reboot Marvel's First Family. A Fantastic Four movie set in the MCU was officially announced before too long, while Marvel Studios is yet to cast anyone to play Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, Johnny Storm, Human Torch, or Ben Grimm. The thing, it was previously announced that John Watts was sticking with the MCU to direct Fantastic Four after completing the Spider-Man trilogy, starring Tom Holland. In the time since Watts joined Fantastic Four, he's become an even more in-demand director in Hollywood. He began developing a hitman movie starring Brad Pitt, George Clooney in 2021. Yeah, it looks like he wants to move on, but I've got another theory as well. I always do, don't I? But the real big development came once Spider-Man No Way Home hit theaters. The movie broke box office records right from the start and further illustrated that Marvel Studios had a steady hand at the helm of Fantastic Four. John Watts' involvement even led to speculation that Tom Holland's Spider-Man could appear. In a surprising move, Deadline has revealed that John Watts is no longer directing Fantastic Four. Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige confirmed the news of his departure to the outlet. John Watts' Fantastic Four exit is amicable, though, as the director is said to be ready to take a break from superhero movies after directing an entire Spider-Man trilogy since production on Spider-Man Homecoming began in 2016. Statements from Kevin Feige and John Watts can be read below. Feige: collaborating with John on the Spider-Man films has been a true pleasure. We were looking forward to continuing our work with him to bring the Fantastic Four into the MCU, but understand and are supportive of his reasons for stepping away. We are optimistic that we will have the opportunity to work together again at some point down the road. Watts making 3 Spider-Man films was an incredible and life-changing experience for me. I'm eternally grateful to have been a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for 7 years. I'm hopeful we'll work together again, and I can't wait to see the amazing vision for Fantastic Four brought to life. You could even say this is copy and pasted of what Scott Derrickson said when he wasn't going to direct Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The announcement that John Watts is no longer directing MCU's Fantastic Four movie will certainly come as a surprise to many. Thanks to his work on the Spider-Man trilogy, he proved his ability to direct major blockbusters with big casts and work within the MCU. It also was clear that he had a great working relationship with the Marvel Studios team, as far as we know. While he might not be directing Fantastic Four anymore, it seems that his days working in the MCU might not be totally done. Deadline's report notes that Sony wants him to return for the next Tom Holland-led Spider-Man movie, and Feige's statement is optimistic that they'll work with Watts again at some point. We've got to be clear here. Watts was probably appointed by Sony and not Feige. He worked with them. he probably feels more comfortable working with them. He probably had more creative freedom in this Spider-Man universe because Feige ultimately didn't have complete control. And I think he's a Sony man, and I think that's why he's left. That's my opinion. Now that Fantastic Four has lost John Watts, though, the project is now left in an uncertain state and in need of a new director. This is sure to be one of the biggest open jobs in Hollywood now, as the chance to reintroduce the Fantastic Four on big screen should be quite enticing for a variety of creators. Marvel veterans like Peyton Reed or Jon Favreau could get a shot if they're interested, while other known and upcoming directors could get their first crack at a superhero movie now. Since Fantastic Four isn't expected to begin filming until sometime in 2023, Marvel Studios has some time to find Watt's replacement. So this will be very, very interesting, everyone. If they get a really big name, John Watts didn't quit on his own steam, he was sacked. If it's an unknown director, they're being honest. So I'm going to reiterate what I already said and what I already think. I think he was a Sony man. He was never going to continue. They had his name there for some reason, but he then decided to move away. As we know, he's developing his own movie somewhere else. I bet you it's with Sony. So I think that's what's happened. He's a really good, solid director. Just remember, he didn't construct the stories of any of this trilogy, but he did direct what you saw. Now, interestingly, and this is interesting as well, by the way, if you want to be cynical about it, after the fact of seeing Spider-Man No Way Home, many have criticized its CGI and VFX work. I'm not really a VFX expert, and I don't notice these things. I didn't even notice they hacked Cavill's upper lip in Justice League until people pointed it out. So I'm not really a bright spark. I watch things, but I don't look deeply at them looking for flaws. But isn't it interesting? Ever since those criticisms, he's been removed from Fantastic Four. As I say, if it's a big name, we know he's been removed. Could it be Sam Raimi replacing him? Could they be so happy with his work on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness that he's back to do more Marvel live action? I think this could be the case. He's also saying he's very interested in doing Spider-Man 4. But I can exclusively tell every DC fan now that David Zaslav was talking to Sam Raimi last year about making a Superman feature film. I will give you more on that as the days and time get to us. So before I go, let me make sure I've read all the comments. Bat Super, just watched that 1 minute scene of Doctor Strange that they released. You can instantly see the high quality that only Sam Raimi can pull off, way better than the rest of the MCU. Yes, Sam Raimi is one of the best directors of all time. Bat Super, I wonder what it would be like if Sony was like, we don't want to share Spider-Man with you anymore, Marvel Studios, and they just go full stream ahead with their own Spider-Man films without the MCU. Well, Bat Super, before you go, I think you may have hit the nail on the head. This could be another conspiracy theory for us to get into right now, just for very briefly. What if the decision has been made for Sony to do Spider-Man themselves? John Watts, being a Spider-Man man, being a Sony man more than a Disney Marvel Studios man, has sided with Sony, and he will still direct the future Spider-Man comic books. What if that's what's really going on? What do you think about that, everyone? This has been the DCEU Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I will see you around 6 p.m. tonight, this evening, UK time, for Movies TV Mad Live. How does Movies TV Mad Live work? Very different to this show. This is an update show. That's about us chilling out, me answering your questions and your comments about DC live action, the MCU, and entertainment in general. So please join me then. Bat Super, see you next stream. Yes, Bat Super, I will see you next stream. Until we see each other again, thank you for the views. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for your support as usual. There may be a few number of you supporting this channel, but I appreciate every single one of you, and seeing you in the comments makes me ever so happy. So until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, see you tonight.